Welcome, everyone. We have another in our series of Answering the Call. We have had athletes, we have had colonels, we have had actors, and so-called rock stars. But today we have a different kind of rock star, a young man who's 11 years old, who is currently a sophomore, just about ready to finish his associate's degree at college. His father is a graduate of our school, Father Panteleimon, in 2005 Hellenic College, and 2010 Holy Cross School of Theology. I had the privilege of interviewing William last time by phone when I was working with the Orthodox Christian Network. And now being at the school, we felt it was important for us to meet this young man who's a product of our school. Was he born here on the campus?
Yeah, well, he wasn't born on campus.
He was born
in the hospital.
Boston.
But yes,
Okay.
he was born here in 2006.
And I understand when you were here that the kids played a game, Who's Smarter Than William? Is that correct? That's true. Okay. All right, very good. So let's talk a little bit. You're the youngest of three children. You're the child of a Greek Orthodox priest, obviously, presbytera and father, presbytera Nancy. Must be very blessed to have a young man like you, but also a great challenge, I would think, too. Are you smarter than your parents? You can answer that now. It's okay.
I mean,
In some aspects.
it depends what you mean by smart.
Okay. All right. Well, when did you realize, William, that you had this ability that was far greater than other kids your age? When did you understand that?
Well, it's not like an understanding. It's not like a noticing. It's like if you have an arm, you're not going to suddenly notice that you have an arm.
It just happens.
Yeah.
It's just there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. You do attend a community college, and you're just about finishing. What do you say to people who say you're too young to attend college? Because some people might want to hold you back. What do you think?
Well, why would you be too young to do something? That's considered discrimination.
Okay. All right. And we saw that, unfortunately, or maybe we could say fortunately, with young people speaking out in the past week with the shooting in Parkland, Florida. And it seems that the young people of the world are pushing forward an agenda to protect their own schools. And some were saying, well, why are we doing this and why aren't the parents doing it? So now you're coming up and you're saying, you know, I'm young enough and I have gifts and I want to develop them. And fortunately, your father and your mother have been supportive of this. But you should know something, those of you that are students here, when you're under 12 years old, you cannot file a FAFSA, which means you do not qualify for any kind of aid whatsoever. Now, once he turns 12, he can apply for it. That's what his father told me. So those of us who have nightmares of FAFSA, be grateful you can fill out a FAFSA because he can't do it in order to go to college. It's an amazing thing. When did you finish high school?
When I was 9 years old, in May 2016, or 2015, I think.
2015.
Was it 2016? 2016.
Were there any things there that excited you in high school? What was your best subject?
In high school, I mean, to be fair, I only had chemistry and a calculus class.
Chemistry and calculus.
Yeah.
Okay.
I dropped out of the calculus class because they weren't using a book, and well, you know.
You needed the book, or you were ahead of the book?
Like, if you're going to teach someone my age, which at that time I was 8, something without a book.
Hard to do.
Hard to do, yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to keep a kid's attention at 8 years old.
Right.
If all you're doing is lecturing. So
Yes.
you know, it wasn't that he was failing. It's just it was tough. Him maintaining focus. So he continued in the chemistry. about, like I said, about 3 months into the calculus class, we pulled him out of it.
Mhm.
But then he was also taking college classes as well. He took astronomy in the fall and got
Astronomy.
astronomy
Okay.
at the college.
All right.
So he took astronomy at the college in the fall, again, as an 8-year-old. Actually, he took biology in the summer as an 8-year-old, college biology.
College level biology?
He
Wow.
he took, yeah,
Oh.
well, he had to take it so he could graduate high school.
Okay.
So he ended up taking college level biology at the college. Got an A, which qualified him to take the 3 Keystone exams, which were biology, algebra, and literature. You had to score proficient or above in all 3, which he actually scored advanced. So they allowed him to go forward as a senior in the high school, and he was dual enrolled with the elementary school.
Did you do any homeschooling?
No.
No. It was all in public schools then. Okay. I was told that you gave an encouraging graduation speech in high school, reflecting on the gifts that God has given you. Some say it's your brilliance. You've said that it's the people in your life. Can you talk to us a little bit about that speech and how you came up with that?
Well, if it weren't for my parents and the people around me, I would never have realized my gift, and I would never have been able to use my gift. And my parents and the people around me fought for me to be able to graduate high school and be able to go to college. So yes, it was the people around me that helped me in this journey.
You're a humble young man. That's what I'm seeing. You have humility, which is a nice quality, by the way. Especially now during Great Lent, we know about humility and the importance of it. But some people, sometimes when they gain in knowledge, their ego goes up as well. And you've been able, at least thus far, to keep that in check. And I think that's a wonderful thing, because the more gifts you have, the greater it will be. I understand from the research we've done that you've done some television interviews. This is not television, this is being recorded for our website and for the net. You stated there that you would like to prove that God exists. Can you tell us about that?
Well, I could go on about my whole theory, but
Whatever you like.
that's a little long.
Okay.
So should I?
Yeah, that's why
Okay.
we're here. We're here to learn. So,
Okay.
right? Theological school, college, we're here to learn.
Okay. Um, let's start with the theory of relativity. You know Einstein, right?
Yes, I haven't met him, but I know of him, yes.
um, well, in his theory, he said that the displacement of space-time is the cause of gravity.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
And if you're confused what space-time is, recently they found this new particle called the Higgs boson, and it makes up the Higgs field, which is essential.
So far, I've got you. Following so far.
Okay. So Einstein said that the displacement of space-time is the cause of gravity.
Okay.
If this is the case, then the absence of gravity, or the absence of space-time, must be pure gravity. Because of the law of flow, things will go to the point of least resistance. And if there's nothing there to resist, that's the point of least resistance.
Okay.
So, an absence of space-time would be pure gravity. Black holes are an absence of space-time, which is why nothing, not even light, can escape their pull. Also, if the universe is all of space-time and the entire Higgs field and all of space-time and matter, everything, then whatever's outside of the universe must be an absence of space-time. If that is the case, then the universe is not expanding into the absolute void around it, it's falling. Now, let's think back to the beginning of time. We know the universe has an age, right?
Mhm.
13.8 billion years.
Did you know that? Most of you had no idea what he's talking about. Okay, go ahead.
So 13.8 billion years ago, the entire universe was reduced to a singularity, a particle smaller than a quark. However, if gravity is always working, i.e., if you jumped off this building, you're not going to fall 15 seconds later. You're going to fall immediately.
Mhm.
So if gravity is always working, then and if the singularity was always there, like some atheists try to say, then the universe should have no age. It should be infinitely old. But it's not. It has an age. It's 13.8 billion years old. And something can't come from nothing because it would have to exist in order to cause itself to exist, which is illogical. So therefore, something other must have created the singularity. And that something other we observe as God.
Have other people challenged you on your theory, or are you feel solid with what you're saying?
I feel fairly solid with what I'm saying.
Okay.
What about Hawking when he talks about the fact that
Uh,
there should be no cause because of gravity? You want to talk about that?
well, Hawking's theory that there should be no cause because of gravity, well, gravity can't create something. Gravity has nothing to. Gravity can't do anything if it's not acting against something. Gravity is literally nothing, as we stated before, and nothing applied on nothing is just nothing.
Nothing. Even I can follow that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, did you get that? Most of it? We'll have some questions afterwards. Okay. Um, clearly, you have been gifted with certain things and knowledge. And I guess the question, and it's probably too young yet for you to actually figure it out, but what are your dreams? What is something that you would like to accomplish in the future? I know your parents love you and they support you and they're extremely proud of you. But aside from that, what does Vasily, what does William want?
I want to be an astrophysicist.
Astrophysicist.
Yes.
Okay.
So that I can prove to the scientific world that God does exist.
Okay. I think there's a follow-up question to that. You want to prove it. The question is why? Why do we need to prove it to anybody? Why do you need to prove it to the scientists? What do you think?
Well, because there's these atheists that try to say that there is no God, when in reality it takes more faith to believe that there's no God than it does to believe that there is a God.
Please say that again. That's an incredible statement.
Because it makes more sense that something created the universe than, say, the universe created itself. That takes more faith to say the universe created itself than to say something other created the universe, because that is more logical.
Okay. You know, your dad told us that you have a great sense of humor, and that you did some kind of a skit somewhere. Was it? What was that we talked about?
We had a talent show,
Talent show.
and he did some comedy.
Do you have any comedy you'd like to share with us?
Should I do one of the jokes I did at that talent show?
Sure. As long as Dad says it's okay to give the joke, yeah, why not?
It's fine. Um, have you ever seen that Subaru commercial?
Subaru commercial? Yeah, the one with the young man who's calling his father on the phone
No.
with the lug wrench? No, that's Geico. Which one are you talking about?
The Subaru commercial where he's giving his car off to his daughter who's going to
Oh,
college.
yes, I have seen
and
that.
he's cleaning it out.
Yes.
First, he finds this lollipop stick, and he remembers when she was a child in the
Yes.
back seat. And then he digs around some more, and then he finds a medical band, and he remembers when she was an adolescent, and when she broke her leg, and then he digs around some more, and he finds this dried up flower, and he remembers when she went to prom, and everybody's like, "Oh," and I'm like, this guy hasn't cleaned out his car in 18 years.
It's true. That's a good one. You might write commercials someday. You never know. That was good. That's very good. You have another one?
Yeah.
You can pick on it if you want.
Now I'll go with the one that actually connects to that one. So, speaking of cars, my dad's going to have to give me his car one day when I get my driver's license.
Mhm.
The thing is, when I was young, or my mom and dad told me that when I was young,
When
they
you were
would-
young.
when I was
Yeah.
younger,
Oh, younger. Okay.
they would drive me around the block a few times to help me fall asleep. And
Right.
even now, if I go on long car drives, I'll fall asleep.
Mhm.
Let's just hope that I grow out of that before I get my driver's
That's-
license.
Well, we could actually play the game here. Who's smarter than William? But I don't know if our group is up to it yet because we've just eaten. I want to ask you. I saw something in a paper you wrote for Professor Mayberry, and you say the omnipotence and the omniscience of God. And your first question you ask is, does God exist in the universe, or does the universe exist in God? Now, you touched on it briefly in some of the conversation. Can you elaborate on that? Because this is, take your pencils out. This is a good thing for someone to write a paper on, and you might be able to help us. Does God exist in the universe, or does the universe exist in God?
Well, the universe exists in God because God is outside of time and space. Otherwise, how would he have created the universe? Because sometimes we try to put universal laws and our logic and reason when we're imperfect, and we try to put that on God when he's outside of the universe, and so universal laws don't apply to him. And trying to put our universal laws on God is like trying to make God an image and likeness of us, which is egocentric and exclusive.
Very good answer. Did you get that down? That was a good answer. That's very good. All right, I'd like to give the opportunity for some of our students, our professors are here as well, to possibly ask you some questions. Is that okay with you? Yes? All right.
That's okay.
Okay. So, any questions you would like to pose? Paul, is there a microphone? We need to get that because we're recording. And all the scientific questions go here, not to.
Thank you very much for talking with us today. It's really fascinating to hear your story. I watched a couple of your interviews, and in one of them you said that you're very interested in the search for extraterrestrial life. Is that correct? And I'm wondering, in your opinion, what you think are the theological ramifications or consequences would be of discovering extraterrestrial life that did not originate on Earth?
Well, first of all, aliens do not disprove God, first of all. Second of all, if the aliens are considered people by God, then okay. And also, if we find aliens, they don't actually have to be sentient. Aliens could just mean anything outside of our own system, or our own Earth, technically. Any life forms that are extraterrestrial.
Okay. Answer? Other questions? Who's smarter than William? Yes, Drew.
Thank you again, William and Father Chris, for your interview. I wanted to ask you specifically, William, if you have a hard time trying to socialize with your peers who are 10, 11, 12 years old, when most of the people you talk to, I would assume, are much older than you, 30, 40, or college kids like ourselves. How do you resolve the differences between talking with peers your age and then going to school who are an audience much older than yourself? How do you grasp with that reality in daily life?
Well, I mean, with my peers, it's just because I'm a little more book smart than them doesn't mean we act much different. And with college students, I mean, with a lack of better term, most of them aren't going to be super fancy or anything. So it's not that hard to socialize.
That's quite an
Just-
indictment, you
just-
realize, on the college students. So you're saying that, are we saying that your peers are more mature than the college students at times?
Not really.
No, no, okay. I want to straighten that out, that's all. Is there more you want to add to that? Is that okay? Okay.
I kind of forgot where.
I'm sorry, I sidetracked. That's my fault, I sidetracked you. We were talking about socialization.
yeah.
Socializing.
But socializing isn't really that hard. Just be like I'm just being myself. It's not like that hard. So yeah.
Do you ever find a college student looking on your paper like that? No, you never see that, right? No cheating, right? Okay. Other questions? Yes.
Thank you so much for coming today and for doing all the work you're doing for our faith and for the church. One question I had for you is I think it's really important that we encourage people to explore things like astrophysics and other fields of study in relation to their faith. So, what do you think is the most important thing we can be doing as a church to help inspire people your age to continue getting excited about different fields of study in relation to our faith in the church? So, what do you think is the most helpful that we can do for people your age?
Well, teach them about the faith and how science and theology don't have to be separate in nature. They were designed to be together. God created science. So why in our modern day and age are they so separate? What I would do is like teach children about their faith and how science and their faith should be together and not separate.
One complementing the other?
Yes.
Okay, good. Other questions? Who's smarter than William? There's another one.
Hi, William. I was wondering if and when you prove the existence of God, do you have any plans after that?
That's a great question.
Well, after I prove the existence of God, I would like to just explore more about how the universe works because there is still so much we don't know. Like, there's so much more things that we don't know, but there's even more things that we don't know we don't know. So I would just like to explore and find out stuff, with lack of a better term, that we don't know.
Okay, very good. Other questions? Any questions? Yes? One of our professors, that's the dean of our college.
Thank you, William, for coming today. It's been a pleasure to see you and to hear from you. Some of us actually remember you on this campus when you were much younger, so it's great to have you back. If you could tell us a little bit more about what you're studying right now and what your plans are for September and what you hope to study in the next 2 years.
Well, right now I'm going to St. Petersburg College, Tampa campus, in Florida. And the classes I'm taking right now are calculus, English composition 2, Spanish 1, and American government. And in the summer I'll be taking Spanish 2 to get my associate's degree. After that, I'll be going back to University of Southern Florida, and I'll continue on my astrophysics path with a physics major to hopefully get my doctor's degree before I'm 18.
I was 46 when I got mine. Ella,
Hello, William.
Professor.
Do you have any hobbies, or is thinking your hobby as well? Do you find it relaxing to think, or do you have something that you that you do to decompress and relax and get away from thinking?
Well, I like to play video games and maybe read a book once in a while, read a good book. And yeah, I like to play video games, read books, watch TV, just the normal stuff your average 11-year-old would do.
Tell them about your history stuff.
And the video games I like to play, they're mostly alternate history games.
Alternate history. Explain that for us. We have alternate reality here sometimes, so alternate history will be interesting. What is that?
It's basically where you ask a question, what if, like you're set in a historical era, and you're asking a question, what if this went differently?
Okay.
For example, what if Constantinople never fell?
Wow, that's exciting. That is exciting. I like that. Dr. Tim, that might fit into one of our plans when we have the different classes and the... Okay. All right, good. Other questions? Yes. James.
William, thanks for coming here. It sounds like from what you've said that that a lot of school subjects, especially math and science, come fairly easy to you. So I'm really curious, what's that Spanish class like? Are languages just as easy, or is there anything special about languages?
Well, I like languages too, well, I guess yeah, I do need Spanish for my associate's degree. I really like to learn foreign languages, and language can be really awesome sometimes, just to learn about other cultures and other languages that go with those cultures.
Tell them about the language you're creating.
And have you ever heard of a conlang? Constructed language? It's basically an artificial language that, like, what was I thinking of? Sorry. It's Esperanto. There it is. That's an example of a constructed language. And I made a constructed language on the computer. It's called Panteleimon. It's like a mix of English, Greek, and some random stuff I put on there.
So you're creating your own language.
Yes.
Okay, I rest my case. If there's any more questions? Yes, Anthony.
Thank you for coming today and chatting with us. In your preliminary studies of astrophysics and other sciences, has any of this study informed you anything about the inner workings of man? You know, you're looking out into the stars and also the workings of of the universe, but has it informed you at all yet in your study about how 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 we work and function as people?
Sorry, but I'm kind of not quite sure if you mean like sociology or you know what I mean. Okay. Um. Well, for, I'm gonna keep saying this. I'm sorry, but for lack of better term, kind of.
That was his answer.
Yeah. So what do you,
Okay.
how do you feel about? I think what he's saying is, how do you feel about humanity's role in the universe? You know, from your studies, like what do you think?
Well, I mean, it's kind of a hard question, but I would say that we just need to learn more about where we are and the place around us and just learn more about our faith and, like I said, the universe around us. Because, like I said before, there are so many things we don't know, and there are even more things we don't know we don't know.
Okay. Are there any more questions? Otherwise, I'll close things out. Yes, in the back. Wait till you get the microphone, please. There you go. Thank you.
When did you start wanting to prove God? Like, what age?
um, well, I started wanting to prove God at around 5, 6, 7, 5 to 7, around that age. Because at that point, I actually started thinking about it, you know?
Okay. Another one? Yes? Jeremy?
William, thank you for being here today. I was doing some reading online when they first announced this event, and I was quite surprised to learn that you were speaking in full sentences at 7 months. You were doing math at age 2. You read through a several hundred-page geometry textbook at age 5. That's really astounding to learn. Are you aware of other young people who have excelled so much at such an early age like you? And if so, do you see any commonalities in terms of how they were raised that might cause that kind of intellectual excellence?
Well, I have this one friend that was at Pittsburgh when I was there at Pittsburgh. In Pittsburgh. When my dad was assigned to EPUB D. My friend's name was RJ, and he went to college about, I'd say, a year after me, which is, I mean, I don't really know how he was raised because other than when I was there, but I was I went there when I was, I'd say, 6, and at that point I could already see similarities between us. So I'm not really sure how to answer that question, but I do know other people my age who have excelled in knowledge and, for lack of a better term, book smart.
Okay. Well, let me try to close things out. First of all, by thanking you for coming. Thank you,
for
Father,
having
for being
us.
here.
Thank you for
Give
having
our
us.
love and respect to Presbytera. This is your home, so you came home and you brought your beautiful son with you, and we're grateful to God for that. This is the Educational Spiritual Formation Center of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese, and I always say that there's 3,000 colleges, universities, 1,200 faith-based, and we have one. So I'd like you to speak for a moment to the students as we close this out about why is education so important? Why should we excel? Why should we use our gifts that God has given us and develop them? How do you see that? Because obviously you see a couple layers below what everybody else sees. I wonder if you could address that for us as we close out.
Well, education is necessary for the advancement of society in any way whatsoever. And also, this brings up a parable that I've heard many times because my dad is a priest.
You heard a few of his sermons, right?
Yeah.
Do you help him write his sermons?
No, he,
No,
he doesn't write a sermon.
He checks my grammar, though.
Checks your grammar. Okay.
I'm not joking. He checks
You're
my
not
grammar.
joking. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. But the parable is the one where this king gives one of his servants 5 talents, another one 3 talents, or 2 talents, and another one, I think, 1 talent. And they go off. The one with 5 talents invests in his 5 talents and gets 10 talents. And the one with 2 talents invests in his talents and he gets 4 talents. But the one with 1 talent, he buried his talent as to keep it safe. And when they came back, the one with 10 talents, the one that was given 5 talents came back with 10 talents and gave his king 10 talents. And the one with 2 talents gave his king back 4 talents. But the one with 1 talent came back with his only 1 talent, and the king said,
Slothful and wicked servant. Yeah.
so we need to invest in our talents, and we need to invest in our gifts that we have from God, and not just bury them like the slothful and wicked servant did.
Thank you very much. Let's give him a Hellenic College Holy Cross. Goodbye.